Hello, and welcome to another episode of Motor City Metrics here at TigersMLReport.com. I am Rogelio Castillo. Alongside me is Uper and Chris Brown, and we're part of the Believe Network. Find a bunch of the podcasts, but make sure if you find us on Spotify, iHeartMedia, Apple Podcasts, or listen to podcasts over on X, formerly known as Twitter, at MCM Baseball Pod. And make sure you leave us a review. Let us know what you think. And we're always looking to improve in a slow week this week, short week for people that are working, as tomorrow is pretty much the end of the working week for a lot of people as Thanksgiving roll around. We'll talk a little bit of Thanksgiving. We're going to get in the 40-man roster moves that took place on Friday, talk a little bit about that, and look at some of the free agent signings that have taken place. It's been really relatively quiet, and talking to some people, some sources of mine, that essentially Scott Harris is keeping it very, very close to the chest. So as far as anything goes with Detroit related, if we heard about it, I'd let you know. But right now it's all quiet on the Western Front. So, but with the holiday season rolling around, by the way, it is a good time to really check out the NFL with full stride. You got Thanksgiving, you got the beloved Packers of Uper and the Lions playing on Thursday. Got the NHL going on, and you have the Pistons 4-32.
Whatever that's bet against them.
Yeah, the bet against them. And you can go to Bet Online, is your number one destination for all sports wagering information. With up-to-minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions, Bet Online is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports. And it's not the big four. It's got information available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access for even MMA. If you're a soccer fan, got that covered. And head to Bet Online today. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE. It's scrolling on the bottom right there for 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, use the promo code BELIEVE for 50% off your welcome bonus on your, or get for 50% on your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Totally butchering that read. And Bet Online when the game starts. So just want to get that out of the way. Now that we have that out of the way,
double your presents.
Pardon me?
You double your presents this Christmas.
Yeah, double your presents. Yeah, exactly. Double your presents. Daily Ninja Beast wants to know how come I don't have a hat on. Honestly, I'm having a good hair day. My hair is all like it's all, and also I got one of these lids scrub bus cap brushes here. I had some downtime this weekend, and I've been cleaning my hats because they've been pretty gnarly. So with the summertime and everything, so I haven't really. Some of them are airing out currently right now, and I usually, as part of the rotation, you can't see it, but there's the closet door back there has a current rotation, like a 5-man rotation. I keep my caps right now, so all these right now are Western Michigan. There's some Erie hats here. There's a Nashville hat. There's a Lions hat right there. There's a Transformers.
You line them up. You should line them up by level.
I do. They are
nice. Yeah,
they are lined up by level. Yeah.
Toledo, Erie, West Michigan, like
a power ranking.
Power. Yeah. You know what? That's a good idea. If I had enough hats, I could do a power ranking during the season. But
yes,
yeah, that'd be awesome. Like the helmets, like they have the little helmets they do. That'd be a great idea. Say what, Chris?
Like the little ice cream helmets, yeah.
Yeah, those are really cool. Yeah. So
I don't know if you could see can you see my racing stripes on my hair?
Yes. So by the way, that picture you sent me over the weekend, and I don't know if I'll ever share that picture publicly, Chris, if you want me to. But
I don't care. All right. Yeah, I went to an 80s party on Saturday night, and honestly, I didn't like. I went through about 1,000 different costumes. I was going to be Cousin Eddie from emptying out the old RV facility. I was going to be. I thought maybe I could be like Cobra Commander or Destro from G.I. Joe. I thought that would be kind of cool. And I eventually just kind of settled on just like a random 80s in general. I had a hoodie with the Dare slogan on it, and then it really, honestly, it probably looks more like early 90s, like Color Me Bad style. But it was still fun. It was a fun night. They people rented out the Magic Bag in Ferndale and took a party bus there. They had a taco truck and a pony truck for free and open bar. It was a good time.
Nice. I was gonna say the mega 80s parties are always fun. I went to a couple. went to a couple of those when I lived in Grand Rapids a long time ago, and those are pretty cool. They're
Were
always
there
fun.
any women? Were there any women dressed like Madonna who shouldn't have been really dressed like Madonna?
I don't remember seeing a Madonna. There were multiple people dressed as Prince, which was kind of funny. There was a Barbie. There were I went with a woman who was Rainbow Bright. The hosts were He-Man and She-Ra. There was a great
Very
Carmen
nice.
Sandiego there. There were,
That should have
and-
won. That should have won. That
Yeah.
all day should have won.
There was a couple that went as Double Dare contestants. That was great. It was a lot of really fun, creative costumes, and some guy went as Chunk from Goonies. It was good.
Yeah, the Carmen Sandiego. We do have that Carmen Sandiego picture too, and I'll pull that up first. But first things first, we have a picture to present here, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And let me see if I can. Let's see here.
Classic
Well,
visual podcast.
yeah. Well, if you're watching us on YouTube, so we do have quite a bit of people on YouTube that participate in the show and are part of it. So let's see here. Yeah, I found it right here. So if you're watching us on YouTube, then you have the luxury, and I might even use this as for a picture, if you're okay with it, Chris, for the episode for
That's
our audio
fine.
folks.
I sent it to my friend out in Denver, and she just picked me out and turned me into a sparkly sticker.
There's Chris Brown, everybody.
Nice.
Yeah, Tara used her hair dye on my beard, eyebrows, and hair. It looked ridiculous. I've never done Just for Men or anything like that, and I got a pretty gray beard now, so that was felt odd, but it was a good
Do
time.
you break dance?
I didn't try to break dance. I should have.
Oh.
My brother had to go to the chiropractor in the '80s for trying to break dance. So
Really?
Yep.
Oh
That's
wow!
what I wanted.
I
I wanted some old
see.
school parachute pants.
Those pants are pants are epic. I don't know if I could pull
Somehow
that look
those were within 24 hours in my house. We ordered those on Friday and they came on Saturday afternoon. So I don't know why they're
Really?
that close to my
Wow.
house, but they're not cross colors, but they certainly look like that, that they were yellow and green and red and purple, but and very comfortable. So that was kind of fun.
Which were those pants again?
Sure. Like maybe not to pick my kid up at school, but if we're just hanging out, I'll throw those suckers on.
We're to Comerica next summer.
I should. Yeah, I'll do it. Whatever.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to Tyler and to Stando. Stando's been sending me some really nice comments, feedback from the show, so I appreciate that. But yeah, here's the Mega 80s picture, by the way. So I think Chris got robbed, or I think Carmen Sandiego got robbed. Look at Carmen Sandiego here, folks. She should have won. The Barbie one was just. Go ahead, Chris.
Barbie won. I think she stalked the crowd with her friends. It was just by applause. The troll was solid. My friend Lorianne was the Rainbow Bright. But yeah, I know. Like I said, it was fun. A lot of people had a good time, and I'd do it again.
Is that Toadstool? Is that Toad right there?
Yeah, there was a full like Mushroom Kingdom. There was Mario, Luigi, Princess, and Toad. They won the group costume. Although again, I thought Double Dare should have won.
Yeah, that's a really good call there. That should have been the case. But so today, kind of on a somber note today for people who are remembering the 1984 Tigers, and Willie Hernandez passed away today. He died. His birthday was just actually he died. His birthday was last Tuesday. Passed away at the age of 69. He had some heart issues, and so I was looking over his stats earlier today, and it's easy to forget. I mean, everybody knows him for his 84 season where he won the Cy Young and MVP, but this guy was also a 3-time All-Star, 84 to 86, and put up some really impressive innings for the Tigers. One of the best spring training trades of all time. If not, it has to be in the top 3 right there. And he was the anchor to a bullpen that the reason why they brought him in, and I mean, you had Aurelio Lopez on the right and him on the left. And Lopez has been with the team for a while, and Lopez was was the closer to start the season before Hernandez took over. And those two right there, combo wise, you couldn't really the Tigers would not won the World Series without him. Pure and simple. I really think that, I mean, those guys really, 140, 140 innings in 80 games, 140 innings of work. And go back to, I mean, this is a time where relievers were used far differently than they are now. But if you look at, he started a few games with the Cubs in the early 80s before he went completely to the bullpen with the Cubs in, I believe it was 81 and 82. And he got traded to Philadelphia, or I think he signed with Philadelphia. I can't remember if maybe he got traded. I think he got traded to Philadelphia, but he was a big part of that 83 bullpen they lost to the Orioles in the World Series. So people forget that too. He made back-to-back World Series appearances. And Guillermo Hernandez, he was known, he wanted to be called Guillermo. That's his name. And I know that, and some of the older folks would remember this, and Uper, I'm sure you would too, that and I say that because the contract he signed, and a lot of fans gave him a lot of crap when he struggled and he had injuries, and I think he was a little misunderstood here towards this time. And also, if you think about in 87, he wasn't really instrumental. Mike Henneman kind of started taking that role over in 87, but overall, it's still a sad day for Tiger fans.
You know, so many good memories of those years. But 84, I mean, I just remember that news breaking. I was at lunch. I think I was a freshman in high school, maybe a sophomore. Freshman. Actually, I was a freshman in high school. And I heard the news on the car radio going back from lunch. And I knew who Willie Hernandez was. I was actually a little sad that Walking Fuss was leaving, because as a kid, you're not as in depth on everybody. But the first thought I remember thinking, well, they already have Aurelio Lopez. What are they going to do with him? Well, 6 months later, we knew it was a masterstroke. Our friend Lee Panis, I believe he just tweeted a little while ago, of his 32 saves, just to talk about how different the times are, 18 of them were 6 or more outs. I mean, think about that. And when you think about what that did for that team, when the team was struggling in the middle of the summer, the fact that they could rely on him to get, 2+ innings and get the team to the finish line in a lot of those games, that was huge.
He's basically going 2 innings every other day for the entire season. Like Jason Foley led the Tigers with 70 appearances this year, 10 fewer than Hernandez, in 69 innings. So fewer than half of the innings that Hernandez does. Yeah. So he's one of the first Tigers I actually remember. I think the first autograph I've ever owned was Willie Hernandez baseball. I don't know how I got it. I was young. I don't really remember the 1984 team other than the celebration. But I remember him being a star. At least, to a young kid, he's the all-star. He's the guy, he was the MVP, the Cy Young. That's what used to matter, right? Like the awards.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I assume this is in every market, but certainly in Detroit, we've seen it over the years. No matter what you've done as the reliever or the closer, if you stop getting the saves or you start having issues, people want you gone. They don't like you anymore. It's been every closer of my lifetime that I like. Maybe there was one year with Benoit where people are okay. I don't know, but yeah. So that's unfortunate there, but. Yeah, hell of a run for him there in the mid 80s, and it always feels like the Tigers should have won more than one World Series with that core, but they got the one. That's all that matters. It gave people a lifetime of memories.
Yeah, it's such a weird decade where no team won it twice. It's a different winner every year. But yeah, you would think they would have gotten one more, and it would have just cemented the legacy so much, but it didn't happen.
And that was just if it were the current playoff scenario, you'd have to think that they would have at least gotten to one more World Series.
Yeah.
If not won another one. But
yeah, I mean, if you look at the way teams were, this is just a little bit after the expansion. So Seattle and Toronto came into the mix, and they were starting to kind of, well, Seattle, it took a little longer but Toronto was starting to build something. And by 83, with Dave Steve as their ace, they started to build things out. So the Yankees were kind of falling back a little bit because Steinbrenner couldn't keep prospects to save his life. Anybody that got good, he'd trade. I mean, it's like you talk about Cardinal prospects and it being good somewhere else. Doug Drabeck, there's a ton of them. Bobby Bonilla, there's a ton of.
Why the hell did you trade Jay Buhner?
Yeah, the Jay
Buhner.
Jay Buhner. Yeah, there's a ton of pitchers and players they gave up on so quickly. Ricky Henderson was a Yankee at one point too. So you look at those Yankee teams in the 80s that surprisingly didn't win much. There's the Expos were really good, but just couldn't have the money to spend. But they were playing, unfortunately, in the old NL East a little bit. So they had Philly was always good every year. The Phillies they won the World Series in 81 or is it 80? I can't remember. It's 80. Was it 81? 80. That's right. Because 81, there's no World Series, right? Because there was a strike, right?
No, that was the short season. The short season. Dodgers.
Oh yeah, that weird thing where they got. I think the Tigers got hosed on that too. I believe it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think of also the fact the Cardinals. I mean, they were one bad play away from winning 2 World Series, one bad call, winning 2 World Series in a decade. I mean, they got that call against the Royals in '85. That hosed on.
Yeah, Don Denkinger.
Yeah,
but the one thing the '84 Tigers with that 35-5 start, and when they always had the cushion, but the defending champs who were tailing them. I mean, Baltimore was there. That was a good team, and if the Tigers had gone on any kind of losing streak, all of a sudden their lead would have been really toast. They had to win that doubleheader, the Juan Berenguer start in August that really kind of kept them afloat.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for that 35-5 start, you were absolutely right. Toronto was in the thick of things a little bit. Yankees were right there, but that start really helped them out. I mean, it's crazy to think if you look at the East Division back then. I mean, they had Toronto, New York, Baltimore, and Boston all over 500. And you go out west, and the AL West was kind of what the AL Central is. Royals were over 500. They were 84 and 78. But then the Angels and Twins were both 81 and 81. And everybody else was just below that. So, yeah, it's crazy. I think that now the way baseball has changed dramatically with the way strikeout numbers are and everything. But either way, yeah, it's a sad day, and
it would be really fun if we could have advanced stats on Guillermo Hernandez fastball, and that slider. I don't know if he broke 90.
I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, he was the screwball, right? Was his big out pitch?
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he wasn't breaking 90. I don't think a lot of guys were actually back then.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, if you were throwing 93, then you were basically Nolan Ryan.
Yeah,
that's funny. I've never. Sorry to interrupt. I've never gone back and looked at the ALCS that year. I'm familiar with the World Series, but the 3-0 over the Royals. I never looked at that. Hernandez got the save in the final game and a 1-0 win in Game 3.
That was a Royals team too that was in the middle of a transition because they were predominantly they were the Twins of the 70s as far as losing to the Yankees every year. And when they finally got over the hump, they lost to Philly in the World Series in 80. But they were starting to have the makings of a pretty decent pitching machine that helped them win in 85. So
yeah, Saberhagen was a rookie.
Yeah. And he really was, yeah.
That 1-0 game, I think the only run scored on a Marty Castillo double play. Hit into a double play, got a run in with it, and it held up.
There's one of those guys too on the reunion, by the way. They're never able to find where Marty Castillo has been.
Wow.
So yeah. But go ahead, Chris.
I was just saying, yeah, Hernandez pitched in all 3 games of the ALCS and then 3 of the 5 in the World Series. So give him 86 games total on the season, not counting spring training. But
it's crazy to think what that was going on. I mean, Dan Eckersley was also doing that until a certain extent, until he became a 1-inning guy. So, I mean, he was a former converted starter. All right, so let's move on to the 40-man roster. Decisions came out on Friday, and so we saw that Spencer Turnbull and Austin Meadows were elected. The Tigers did not bring them back through free agency. Freddie Pacheco and also Garrett Hill and Brendan Hanafy as well what's interesting about Turnbull was he got his full year service full service time, and
that was a new one for me.
Yeah, well, he whined his. I mean, I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Yes, he whined his way. No, I'm going to say it out loud. He whined his way to get in that. So, Turnbull, at the end of the year, Harris said they were talking about bringing him back, but we all knew it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah,
it was just a lot of things that Turnbull did that it's not public, but a lot of things. He burned a lot of bridges with a lot of people down there. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all saw the Austin Meadows non-tender coming. It was they're going to give him $4.5 million, and there's just no idea if he's actually ever going to play again. You're not going to pay a guy that, and I sounds like maybe the communication wasn't terribly good there either. Between Meadows and the Tigers. I don't know. I not to go off on a tangent here, but it sure felt like the Al Avila front office didn't do any kind of makeup digs on anybody, right? And I don't mean to say that, like, Austin Meadows is obviously going through like a mental health thing. That's not necessarily a makeup problem. That's not a guy who's lazy or a bad teammate at the way some of these other players might be. But still, you'd think that they would find out like this sort of thing could be a possibility. I don't think anxiety hits you all of a sudden in your late 20s to this extent. But it just, and then Erod being just a strange guy, and Baez not necessarily being the huge makeup guy, and just all the guys they brought in seemingly had some issues there. So I don't know. It's not a surprise to see Scott Harris kind of let some of those guys go. And as Raj touched on, like, Turnbull had a lot of talent. But he also, he didn't have a whole lot of fans inside the organization. I'll say that. Just not necessarily a person who treated everybody great, and that's fine, right? If you're talented, you can be a jerk. That's just the way pro sports are.
Mm-hmm.
And good on him to get the service time. It doesn't cost the Tigers anything. Whatever, no big deal. Doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, he just seemed like a guy who thought he deserved a lot more than he earned. I should say that.
Yeah, so. That's how it was. Yeah, that's how he portrayed himself. Go ahead, Uper.
Well, it's probably best for the Tigers not to oppose him on that service time thing. I mean, why get into a public entanglement, probably with the union? Why have it drag out? Is this going to become if they fought him on it, it just becomes a thing that's always brought up periodically. And as Chris said, it doesn't hurt them because they're not bringing them back, so who cares? Ship them off, And I think a lot of these moves, again, it all boils down to Scott Harris still has the new car smell in his office, right? And these aren't his guys. So his guys will be taking these spots on the roster. And the guys that were Avila guys who were on the fence are gone.
Yeah. Sorry, I think we're expecting to hear something down the road, maybe that Pacheco and possibly even Hill and Hannafy have re-signed on minor league deals, something like that. Don't know for sure. Don't know when that sort of thing would be announced, but there was all sorts of procedural stuff. Eddie Bajak had spelled it all out, and it involves, you don't have to, you're not paying these guys nearly as much based on non-tendering them, and when you do that, you don't have to worry about them clearing waivers and all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah, obviously Meadows and Turnbull were the two big ones, and it's unfortunate in both circumstances. But as Yoop said, this is Harris continuing to build the team in his image.
By the way, Walter, happy Thanksgiving to you, and thank you for that comment. Really appreciate that, Walter, saying happy Thanksgiving to us and all the hard work we're putting in. We appreciate that. Thank you. And yeah, getting back to what you're saying, Chris. This is one thing about the front office that's still different than things are not as telegraphed. They're going to keep things very close to the vest. And I was talking to some people about that, and as far as like, usually I would by now do a free agent prediction kind of thing, but I was talking to them, they're like, don't worry about it, because he's not there. There's no indication of what they're going to do. Short of course, you saw the bid for
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto.
Well,
Yamamoto.
and and Evan Petzold had an article today about the Tigers being highly interested in Kenta Maeda, which is interesting on a multiple fronts. But yeah, like I don't know. We've seen some free agency across the league start. Aaron Nola re-signed with the Phillies. That seemed like something that Dombrowski was going to get done, right? Dombrowski doesn't generally let good players get away. It was basically Max Scherzer was basically the only one, and we saw how Dombrowski reacted to that. That was like the one time Dombrowski's ever been flustered. He like came out and like complained about it.
He was a little.
He usually gets his guy.
peeved.
Yeah. But just to finish up on the Turnbull stuff, it's like I don't think for a second the Tigers were trying to manipulate his service time. I don't think he cared either way, right? He didn't care that they were trying to or weren't. He cared that it was costing him, and that's just kind of that's fine. That's his right. He's a player. He deserves to get the service time if he wants it. But that just kind of encapsulates who he was. I think he wasn't necessarily a guy who cared all that much about the team. He'd rather be up getting his service time and pitching to a 7.7 ERA than going down to the minors on an assignment. No, I'm injured. And then when they came back, no, I'm injured again. I've got a toe injury now. So this is I'm not actually in the minors. I'm just here on assignment. That's just who he was. And now he's gone. And whatever. Best of luck to him in free agency. He's the sort of guy that I can see another team taking a chance on because there's a lot of arm talent there. And if he turns it around, good on him. It wouldn't be shocked. But the Tigers, I think, are pretty happy to have their hands clean of that now.
Yeah, especially when you're complaining about where you're being assigned and out loud complaining about it. And it's instead of just taking your assignment and going, it's just, like I said, some of the things I just heard, I was just kind of shaking my head about because no one else on any rehab assignment gave as much trouble as he did. So, but it is what it is.
So going back a little to the Yamamoto Maeda talk, it's interesting. When that news kind of broke last week that the Tigers have, quote unquote, are interested. It's one of those things where that's kind of a put up or shut up thing, right? I mean, you're either going to make that signing or you're not. You can claim you finished second and we put our best foot forward. Well, so what, right? And you didn't do it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how interested they are. And of course, it takes two to tango. Does Yamamoto want to come to Detroit? I mean, that's another factor that they can't control. But I don't, I'm just hopeful that we don't in the end say, oh well, we gave it our best shot. We didn't get it done. Okay, well, that's nice. Pat on the head for that. In terms of Maeda, kind of a league average guy throughout his career. Had a big year in the COVID year. Second in Cy Young, by far his best season. But other than that, he's kind of just a tick above league average. That means he can be useful, but I don't know if he's a game changer. But they're going to need innings, so that could be a guy, despite his injury history.
Yeah, he struck out 27% and a walk rate of 6.5. And the Tigers do need inning eaters really bad. And there is a general consensus. If you go into the rotation this year, if you have, hypothetically speaking, Casey Mize, Derek Skubal, and let's say Sawyer Gibson along, it really is after that the hodgepodge of who's who on those final two spots because but even then Mize hasn't pitched in almost 2 years now.
Yeah, it feels, I mean, you would think heading into, you think Reese Olson has a pretty good shot, you think Matt Manning has a pretty good shot again, but I do think you want some insurance and some depth. You want some insurance in case Mize doesn't come back healthy, right? Or any of the other pitchers get injured. So Maeda makes some sense to me in terms of, he's not going to cost you a ton. He's 35, 36. As you said, he's kind of a league average pitcher. The thing that Evan Petzold wrote in the story was that the Tigers are trying to appeal more to Japanese players. And if you can go and get a veteran and have him and, give him a good experience, it's worth a shot, right? Because Detroit, as you said, Detroit hasn't been a destination for any Asian players, really. And you'd like to be in on these guys if possible. And sometimes it takes more than money. You need somebody to come here and have a good experience and talk about, how it was great here. And then all it takes is one. And then you can get another guy or another two, and then you're a player for everybody. But, I don't think Kenta Maeda is going to actually move the needle for Yamamoto or Shohei Ohtani or anything like that, but it's the start, I suppose. And I don't know. We'll see. The article. He also said that there's no word if Maeda is interested in the Tigers. So it could also just be he's also a Scott Boras client, just like Spencer Turnbull. It could also just be some sort of like, hey, no, we're still interested in you guys. So I don't know.
And here's, I mean, if you're talking about how often somebody was saying how often the Tigers, I was asking me on Twitter about how often the Tigers indulge in Japanese pitchers. So first one right here, Salkita. This was in 1999, and he was a veteran in over in Japan for quite a bit. And he wasn't really good. I mean, he was at the point of his career where he was 30 years old, hitting the league. It was just average in Japan, and then outside of that, it's been
Nomo.
Nomo was a free agent signing, and then the Tigers. He had a really good year, and then he was costing Tigers. He wanted to raise, and rightfully so. He was the best starter on that. I think it was a 2001 team, and they're like, nah. Well, I'm sorry, we don't want a pitcher that was. Nomo was better than. I don't know. Nomo was better than any pitcher they had at that point, and for whatever reason, they didn't want to bring him back. And he had 2 more good years in Boston too after that.
Yeah, he was competent, and that wasn't good enough for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Of course, the team was relatively incompetent. Maybe he was making everybody look bad.
Yeah. And some comments here from in YouTube. Walter's saying COVID year is really hard to count. Looking back, it's really small sample size. Lots of dudes had good 1/4 seasons.
Oh, no question about it.
Yeah.
You know, the Central Division was terrible that year, and I think Maeda, something like 75% of his starts were against the AL Central. I mean,
well, they only played the AL Central and the NL Central, right? Yeah, I mean, you know, he as a pitcher, he's kind of middling. He doesn't throw terribly hard. He has a really good splitter. Throws a lot of strikes. He gets a fair amount of strikeouts. Doesn't walk a ton of guys. He's had home run issues, I think, is his main problem. But yeah, I mean, this is just the first report, and it kind of goes along with the 2 other pitchers we saw signed. St. Louis, very St. Louis moves to go out and get Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson, who are more innings eaters than Maeda. You know, they actually go out there and pitch. Maeda's been hurt a bunch, but they don't really move the needle a ton either. You know, Lynn had a nice run there for 4 or 5 years, but didn't look great last year outside of the random 16 strikeout game he had. And Gibson has been a really solid, 4th starter for about 10 years now, but that's all he is.
He had a couple of good runs last year. I was interested that he only got 1 year. You know, I thought he might get a little bit better, do a little better than that. So that was interesting.
I saw somebody posted. Sorry, somebody posted that the 5 pitchers with the most hits allowed last year, and now 3 of them are in the Cardinals starting rotation. Michaelis, Gibson, and Lynn.
The Cardinal way.
But yeah, the one thing I will say, and Stando said that, is talking about Scott Harris's modus operandi here is I feel like Scott Harris is very much a just get to the postseason GM, right? Like he's not going to make any moves that might necessarily harm you down the road, but he might make some moves that might get you 2 more wins this year here, or 4 wins over the next 2 years, and you just try to put it together for this year to get to the postseason, and then who knows? Maybe that's just where the Tigers are right now, where you go into next year, they should be around 500. Maybe they can get lucky and the division's terrible again, and they can get to the playoffs. But until they get more of this homegrown guys established and performing like all-stars, you don't necessarily go out there and make the huge splash signing. And maybe also that's just the way the free agent market is this year. Is the huge splash signing is not necessarily there outside of Nola's gone. Ohtani would be great, right? But that's probably not happening. Snell is. I know it's weird. I feel like he's the worst 2-time Cy Young winner of all time. It's a very weird thing. How do you lead the league in walks and win the Cy Young?
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
That's why I say where I believe Yamamoto is right there. With his age, especially, you got to believe that the money is someone's gonna break the bank on him. So he's got to be rising up the ranks of the free agency that's left.
I'm assuming $200 million for him.
I would think so.
It's an awful lot for somebody who hasn't been proven in the big leagues, but they've got all the data now, right? So they have a pretty good idea of how good he is.
Yeah, there's by the way, there's a small consensus that believe that there's a small contingency of fans that believe that Yamamoto will go to Detroit, but wishful thinking aside, and crazier things have happened, but look, the Tigers spent money. There was a story that was out today, or I think it was yesterday, that they are starting the rebuilding process in Lakeland and dorms, which have not been touched since the 70s. And Ben Verlander had some really weird tweet. Like, I got sick in those. Like, dude, this is your way to add to the conversation. I got sick in them. Okay.
Mold. Probably some mold in there.
Yeah, I understand that, but you could have said anything else, but I got sick in there. Thank God. Look, anyway, but I think that there's a consensus with looking at what there were as far as looking at this equation when it comes to pitcher. I mean, they're even talking about Seth Lugo, and I don't even Seth Lugo is not a bad idea either, but at the same time, I'm also like, I wouldn't mind getting a guy who's 29, 30. When you start getting pitchers over 30 to 30, like over the age of 32, unless they're like a superstar, I don't know. I'm always leery about that a little bit. So the Tigers should spend money, but like I said, it's going to be supplemental players as indicated by Harris. But I did like the question that Stan brung in YouTube. He says, which current Tiger pitcher do you think will get traded over the winter? And I'm going to say, I'm going to take my shot right now. I think Wilmer Flores is part of the package.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think he would work in a package. I think Ty Madden, some of the higher minors guys. I think with the rising of Olsen and Gibson Long, you have a little bit more leeway there with somebody. I tell you what, man, I cannot figure out Matt Manning's trade value to save my life. Like, it's so hard. So he's barely 20, or he'll turn 26, I think, in December. I think he'll be 26 all next year. 4 years of control. Has pitched well by the numbers, pitching like a good number 4 starter. I think his ERA is like 4.15, 4.25, something like that for his career. But never strikes anybody out. Seems to have basically 2 pitches and can't stay healthy. And it's like, I don't know. Do you try to keep somebody like, I could see being excited as another organization to get a guy like that and finally try to unlock whatever's there. But I could also see being excited to move him now before he just kind of turns into another Jordan Lyles or something.
That's another one. I always look at it from the other team's perspective. When you look at the fact, everything you just said, with the fact that he's averaged 14 starts a year for 3 years, which is not very reliable. What would you plausibly give up for him? If I were another GM, I'd be speculating on Manning being good, but I'm not going to give up a ton for him.
I mean, I think if I were the Tigers trying to acquire Matt Manning, I've been thinking about that in my head. I'm like, like Dylan Smith and Justice Bigby, like 2 kind of 45 value prospects. Nothing, not a top 100, nothing like that. Maybe I'm undervaluing him a ton, but and it's like, his injuries last year were of the very flukish variety, right? But before that, he had shoulder issues, he had lat issues. I remember, was it a forearm dehydration? Wasn't it that one year? I don't know. So he seems like a guy who could be on the move, because I could picture another organization thinking they could really make something of him, but I just don't know if you'd get a ton in the return, and probably not what the Tigers are looking for, which would theoretically be starting second baseman or starting third baseman.
Right. I don't know. I guess I do. I looked at the Aaron Bummer trade, right? Where
that was a wild one.
Aaron Bummer brought back the poo-poo platter, right? So from the Braves, right? I know, huh? But couple of interesting names in there, but nobody that's going to really move the needle unless someone really has a true breakout. But could the Tigers, move a reliever for a deal like that, if they're looking to add a lot more depth and just, get a couple lottery ticket guys, I'm sure one or two of their relievers, might be of the Aaron Bummer ilk and be able to move for something like that. So I'll guess they'll move a reliever. Whether it's, I don't know what Lang's value is, but maybe that's the guy.
I'm going to say, in addition to Flores, I think Manning could be the easiest conclusion to come to, but where you guys are just talking about his market, that's where I'm kind of, I give myself pause, because if he gets off to a really good start, then you can maybe see him in the All-Star or after the All-Star break, get traded possibly. But I think teams are just going to go, well, do you want a bag of balls for him? Because we don't know what you're going to get with him. And so, and it's not degrading Matt Manning as a person, but there's teams that look at him, they'll look at him the same rosy colored eyes that the Tiger fans or Tigers may use him or look him at that way.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons that we've done a lot of speculating about him going to the Cardinals, because the Cardinals seem like the one organization that doesn't care about strikeouts.
Nope.
And that's why he's just kind of mystifying, because he doesn't strike people out, but he doesn't give up a ton of runs, and it seems vaguely sustainable. He's got this kind of elite extension that seems to make his fastball really hard for hitters to square up. But it's like anybody who lets the ball get in play that much is asking for trouble in today's game. So I don't know. I keep viewing him as a possibility just because, but it may be that they think he's more valuable with them. So yeah, it could be one of the minor league guys, could be a reliever. It would be interesting, Tyler Holton. I doubt they'd want to get rid of him, but I would think he could get you a decent return with the season he had and the how many years of control he has left. I believe 5.
I mean, would we put Foley on the same level as Aaron Bummer? Better?
I would. I mean, Bummer had like a 6 ERA last year, didn't he?
Yeah, but what was his FIP was like half of that, right, or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, people are betting on that. I don't know, but Foley, hard throwing guy. How long is his shelf life as a reliever? We know those guys burn out fast. If they could get a solid return on him, that's the move I wouldn't even really think too long and hard about.
I like Paul's idea here. He says, package one of the kids with a sign and trade candidate to get someone the Tigers can use to strengthen their lineup. Paul, you're absolutely right. Because if there's one thing that has been really quiet too, again, I know it's before Thanksgiving and the GM meetings are coming up, so we'll probably hear more by the way, just as a show preview for a couple of weeks from now, we're going to have Chris McCoskey of the Detroit News after the GM meetings on the podcast. I already talked to Chris, and it'll be the first time, and it completes the trifecta, if you will, of beat writers. I've never had a Detroit News guy on, so, but so Chris will be on after he gets back from Nashville, so sometime after the month of November. So, but yeah, even to me, I think I'm still sticking to my theory that the Tigers are going to make a trade. It's going to be a big trade. It's going to solve a couple of their problems, and you're going to see prospects that go the prospect capital that they've somewhat built up. They're going to trade a few of those names. They'll get a couple of names in return you may never heard of, but they're going to have to address the outfield, also minor league depth outfield too. The minor league depth outfield is bad right now. Outside of high A, above high A, so double A, Erie and Toledo heading next year. There's a lot of question marks of who's going to play the outfield next year. You're going to probably assume, Malloy's going to start out there too. According to Mike Doyle, he said he says Maeda are serious Tigers in on him. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens here in the next couple days, but
I would. Right now I would project the Toledo outfield to be Big B in right, Malloy in left, and maybe, I don't know, Winslow Perez in center, Eddie Leonard in center, Ryan Kreidler in center. I don't know. Badu could be in center, if he doesn't make the big league club. Could be Parker Meadows if he has a terrible spring.
Yeah, I mean, look at Erie, Chris. I mean, were you going to bring up? So you're going to have
You'll be Brady Allen,
Brady Allen starting the year, and then
probably Malgeri will be back there. Could see Chris Myers in left, probably him back at first base. But
what
yeah,
about
it's
the Porty? The Porty might be coming back too.
Quincy Naporti. So yeah, if he comes back to play first base, then you could see Myers in left and DH. Navigado maybe comes back, plays a little outfield. It's they'll have some bodies. I think. I'm sure they'll sign. They always sign a handful of minor league vets in spring training. The Steel Walker types. So
Yeah,
Perhaps
I like
Steele.
probably
Yeah.
have Seal Walker. Yeah, or Jack. I like the Jack Flaherty idea too. By the way, for pitching wise, Jack Flaherty. I don't know why. Tyler in chat says pass on Gray. I wouldn't mind that at all. I wouldn't mind Sonny Gray as a Tiger for a 1 year, 2 year deal. That would be. I would much prefer that over Maeda, personally myself.
I
But
think. Yeah, I mean, I think the issue there is that he's probably going to get more than I think he would get a 3 to 4 year deal probably. I mean, I
That's
know
what I'm
he's
thinking.
older, but he's been good enough that somebody will give him 4 years or something like that.
yeah, he'll get some big. He'll get some big money. And Max Anderson, by the way, to answer your question, Tyler. Yeah, he probably will start the season at West Michigan, more than likely. I don't see it. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I would think so. The only, I mean, maybe they want to have Hao Yu Lee start at second base again, but maybe they'll bump him up to Erie. I don't know. Yeah, I guess the one thing we don't know yet, we're kind of assuming because the Tigers have built up a decent, they've got some prospects in the upper levels that they aren't going to have. Even if they all worked out, they wouldn't have enough playing time for these guys. But we've seen some teams, namely the Orioles and Diamondbacks, just kind of hoard their prospects, even though they've got like they'll bring them up and play them. But there's some guys, Joey Ortiz, right? They can't play
Bring me
him.
Ortiz. Bring me Ortiz.
Holiday, like he could probably make a major league debut this year, but where's he play? They've got Gunnar Henderson. They've got so many bodies there. So it remains to be seen if Scott Harris is going to be one of those GMs who's just like, you know what? No, we're just going to hoard these guys and overcook them until we have to do something. So I don't know. I'd like to think that they might use some of their depth that they've accrued to strike now, but he might not. He might just be a hoarder.
By the way, Stan, thank you for the $9.99.
Exquisite.
Stan.
Appreciate that. So, but yeah, I would love for Baltimore to just be a little brave and do something. But yeah, they're gonna hoard if they're gonna hoard their prospects, and
Well,
especially because they have to trade them. I mean, if you're gonna make a move in the AL East, you won 100 games last year. And you're telling your fan base, we're not going to do much. We're just going to continue to let the kids play and not go and address the rotation. I mean, fans were pretty pissed. You can blame the playoff format. You can make all excuses in the world about Baltimore last year, but the bottom line is they still need some things to get over the hump. If you look at Texas, for example, them getting hot at the right time, but they spend money. When you spend money, it works, but you have to spend it effectively.
They spend it on pitching, which is what the Orioles need. I think. I know that they still kind of defied all expectations and outperformed their projections by 20 plus wins or something like that. So they have something working there, but they still need. Nathan Eovaldi was a huge part of the Rangers' success. And they went out and paid for him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It feels like the Orioles need to do something like that. We've seen these teams that try to do it all on their own, homegrown, and it doesn't. It's like the Tampa method, right? Like they get close, doesn't quite work.
Just think if you're Baltimore's owner, right? If you were the typical competitor, and maybe not typical, but if you're a vindictive, not greedy, but ultra competitive owner, and you got Baltimore and you're sitting on all those players, and you got Washington Nationals down the road who you had some nastiness with in the past over TV rights and other things, and Juan Soto is available on the market. And you have all these prospects. I mean, you could easily put together a prospect package to get Juan Soto out of San Diego. And they have the money. I mean, any team that says they don't have money is lying. And sign Soto and park him in your outfield and tell the Nationals to enjoy watching that. Why wouldn't you do that? I don't understand. That's what I do.
Yeah. That would be
Now,
fun.
I mean, if Stan brings up the Brewers, look, if the Brewers are going to be open to trade everybody as it's been reported, then, why don't you ask for Freddie Peralta? Why don't you ask for the Moon and Stars then? Why don't you ask,
Corbin Burns.
Yeah, Corbin Burns. But also, if you're going to solve if you're going they re-sign Willie Adonis, bring him back in a Tigers uniform. See if he can play somewhere else. If Baltimore is that serious about it, Wilson Contreras. Who knows? If Baltimore's just gonna, or excuse me, if the Brewers are just gonna tear down the roster, might as well ask. And I know they're gonna probably not trade a guy like Bryce Terang, so don't try to give me some package for Terang because
They might.
Yeah.
I don't know.
well, it's true.
They,
Crazier things have happened.
yeah, but I mean the Brewers, the way they've operated mostly is kind of they were built around those three big starters, right? And then Woodruff's gone now, and Peralta has, he had a really solid second half last year. Burns is, Cy Young caliber pitcher. It'd be real fun to go get Burns, and then sign him to an extension. But that I think that would be tough. And if I'm him, I probably want to get to free agency. Although if I'm buddies with Brandon Woodruff and I'm looking and seeing that he not cost himself, but just through circumstance, probably $100 million by getting his shoulder injured. That maybe I might consider an extension if somebody offers it to me. But I don't know. I don't know what the Brewers are thinking right now. They lost their manager at a kind of hilarious bit of skullduggery, interdivisional skullduggery that's should be fun all year long. But and they have the Brewers have right now is a bunch of interesting young outfielders, which could match. The Tigers want something like that, but they also, I'm sure the Tigers could use one of those two big starters.
I just want Joey Ortiz. I'll ride that band again. You have a guy who can solve your problem at third base. With Baltimore, a couple starters, call it a day.
Well, here you go, Raj. Baltimore, with that system, what would they have to give you for Tarek Skubal? Boom. There you go. Joey Ortiz and what gets you Tarek Skubal?
You need Kauser or Kjerstad, I would think, to
Yeah.
begin with, and then
Yeah,
probably an arm or two.
Yeah, if we're looking at Tarek Skubal here, I mean, as far as who they get down below that, maybe a guy like who would pitch in the AFL, Carlos Tavera, who's 25 years old. He's down.
McDermott guy, is that?
Yeah, McDermott too, who they got from Houston. Chase McDermott, is that what you're referring to, Chris?
Yeah, I think so. He had a pretty good arm.
Yeah. You also have Seth Johnson down in Double-A, who's pitching for Bowie. We saw him pitch.
He's from Campbell.
He's from Campbell. Yeah, that's right. Where Zach Nato went. School that people don't give a lot of credit for. But anyway, yeah, I honestly, if you're going to give Tarek Skubal I would ask for Baltimore's top 3 or 4 prospects easily and not think twice about it.
I mean, yeah, you start with Holiday, and then when they hang up, and you
laugh.
Or maybe you start with Gunnar Henderson, and then when they hang up, you ask for Holiday, and then they hang up again. But that is one thing that I don't know. You hate to extrapolate over a full season, just a half season of work, but we've talked about it many times. Tarek Skubal was the best pitcher in baseball after he came back last year.
But then you look at his injury sheet, and you look at who his agent is, and the time frame with Tarek Skubal, even if he stays healthy, which is not a given, is limited. Do you think they're going to compete in the next 2 years, 3 years with Tarek Skubal? You can make arguments either way, but if you're going to move the needle and get in some premium talent, you got to give up some premium talent. And is now the time to make that move if a massive trade was out there. Now, when you're talking about top 3 guys in the Baltimore prospects, those are all probably top 50 guys. I don't think you can do that. I don't think they would do that for a guy with like Skubal, but maybe you get two of them and somebody else who's not too far, much farther down the, like with that Basayo, the catcher, Basayo. Does that sound right?
Samuel Basayo, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you could get him in there, that would be pretty amazing.
Also, speaking of Scott Boras, it reminds me that remember the Hair Club for Men commercials in the late 80s, early 90s? Not only am I a Hair Club member, I'm not
Cy
only
Sperling?
the Hair Club president, I'm also a client. Yeah, Cy Sperling with that.
Mhm.
That's all it is with Scott Boras, pretty much. Not only I'm a Scott Boras client. I'm only like just
Yeah, I mean, there have been Scott Boras players who signed extensions and stuff like that, but generally speaking, they get to free agency because he's going to get you a ton of money.
Yep.
And that's what Skubal deserves. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's tough. Like you probably could get a pretty nice package for him right now, but then you would think those other teams are like, I don't know, that injury history. So the same thing. It's almost like you need to have him go out and have an awesome season, and then you can get the King's ransom. But at that point, if he goes out and has a 6-WAR season, then the Tigers might be winning the division.
Well, that's right. If he has a 6-4 year, exactly right. I was going to say the same thing. He probably won the division. So yeah, it's not an easy. That's why Scott Harris has paid the money he's paid. Make these decisions. But again, if you want to move the needle with this team's talent, moving a reliever, moving Matt Manning, those are little, getting an inch better instead of a mile better.
So you see these binders that I have in front of me. If you're watching us on YouTube, see these binders I have in front of me.
Mhm.
If you're a Scott Boras client, you have 5 of these you present. Well, they literally just put it on the table. It is a full-blown media presentation. And it's for everybody. I mean, obviously the bigger profile guys to get a bigger, but imagine you being a minor league guy, right? And Scott Boras brings up all this data on you because he wants to get you that paid. That's what owners don't like about him. He comes prepared.
Yeah.
He was, I mean, I bet you $5. I bet you $5 that Scott Boras loved trapper keepers when he was growing up. I mean, he probably had a horde of them. Trapper keepers.
I remember there was, I don't know if it was Prince Fielder, I think there was like a 75-page thing, like write-up that they had for every potential team that signed him. It was, they do that. You're right. And it works for the most part.
It's a marketing campaign, no doubt.
Yeah. Somebody who does marketing for my day job, the more stats you have, the better. And you got to make the stats just as well, make them as easy to digest as possible. And these owners, I mean, you're dealing now with Harvard graduates and mathematicians. So there's no excuse for the owners to say they don't understand. They understand how money works. I mean, look what happened with, by the way, some other news we forgot to mention. Rest in peace to the Oakland A's, who are now officially going to Las Vegas. So I think, although, let me ask you guys a question. I'll ask everybody in YouTube as well. Do you think they're going to change the name? The A's? I think they're going to change it. I mean, I just feel like it's just a slap to the face if they don't change the name.
They could just call them like the Las Vegas Ace. Just kind of.
Yeah, play really.
There was the Reno
game.
Aces, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure they'll do something. They'll change something because there's money to be made, right? There's, come up with an awesome new logo and nickname and sell all sorts of jerseys and stuff. But I don't know. Vegas is such a strange market for me for sports. It's not a big TV market. It's certainly smaller than the Bay Area,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very transient community. Lots of people moving in and out, and lots of tourists. So I don't know how it's going to work there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. The Golden Knights. I mean, they won the Stanley Cup last year. It's weird to think that the Las Vegas Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup. I forgot about that until I was doing some market research for one of my projects for work, and it hit me. I'm like, holy crap! The Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I'm happy it's over with because we've been hearing about the A's moving and not moving for literally 30 plus years. Right? I mean, it's always been in and out of the
started
news.
doing the podcast, Chris.
And you knew they were never going to get that building built in Oakland. I'm sorry, it wasn't going to happen. They were too close too many times to think, oh, suddenly they're going to break through. So I know some people are sad about the Oakland A's fan base. Okay, there's like 18 of them. Get it done. Clean cut. Pull the Band-Aid off. Put that team in Vegas. Move on. If you can move another team in there someday with a stadium by some stroke of luck, great. But I think this is probably best for that organization to start new. You're locked into Vegas for a long time now, most likely, and go for it. See how it goes.
Now, everybody, okay, Detroit Degenerate asked me if I'm high, or
What?
no, it was to something else. Tiger Town say the A's name is iconic. It is. You're absolutely right. But that hasn't stopped Fisher before from doing what he's done. I mean, screw tradition. I mean, you look at the way they handle the stadium too. Like I had a friend of mine tell me that when they went out to the stadium, even though they kept the bare minimum open for merch sales, he was on purpose trying to get out of there. He doesn't give a shit about tradition. Like I just don't get it. It's to me, it's like if somebody offered him, hey, we're gonna redo your logo. I mean, this is the same guy who bitched and moaned that Vegas was gonna spend money on their taxes for kids, for schools. The hell with tradition with him. I mean, Tiger Town. I hope you're right. I hope they don't change. They shouldn't change. But I don't know.
It was something that when he wrote that, it struck me that they've I was like, they're probably the first baseball franchise to play in 4 different cities, and I looked it up, and that is true. Went from Philadelphia to Kansas City to Oakland to now Las Vegas. They're working their way back east. They'll be back in Philadelphia before we know it.
So so the Buffalo Braves were the San Diego Clippers to the LA Clippers, right?
In
Yes.
basketball, it may have happened in basketball. I was just talking about baseball.
Oh no, yeah. I was just kind of curious because that's a good trivia question too. Like, is there any other teams that have come closer to 3 or 4, or more than 3 rather? The same
Raiders.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wait. Oakland, LA, back to Oakland,
Vegas.
Now Las Vegas.
Yes, yeah.
3 cities, but 4 moves.
Yeah. I'm trying.
Let's see what
The Sacramento Kings were. Let's see. The Sacramento Kings have an interesting history. So
Rams too. Rams were the Cleveland Rams and the St. Louis Rams and the Los Angeles Rams.
No. Cleveland to LA to St. Louis, back to LA.
Yes. Okay. There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I didn't know they were the Cleveland Rams. That's wild. I had no idea.
That was a team in the 40s, right? I believe
40s, 50s, somewhere in there.
I bet some of the early, like the Pistons started in like Fort Wayne, didn't they? I'm sure that some of the early NBA teams moved all over the place.
Oh, they were vagabonds, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom. I do like that. I mean, you're right. They have a hard time making fans of Vegas, but I mean, it's better than the Aviators. The Aviators logo, by the way, is crap. I don't like that Aviators. It looks like some weird X-Men thing. I don't know if you guys ever seen it or not, but look it up. And it's not one of the better logos out there. And that's I believe it's the AAA affiliate of, I forgot who the AAA affiliate of.
They used to be the 51s, weren't they? They were like an alien logo.
Yeah, they were the 51s. Yeah, I mean, you're right though, Tiger Town. It's the Raiders and A's will stay the same. It's just the reason why I'm kind of skeptical is because I feel like his quote right here, what Tyler just said right here, that he basically has been a lot worse for me than the fans. That's a dick thing to say. Screw you, dude. I mean, these Oakland fans. Yeah, I know. I know. It's a billionaire.
I think it was Joe Sheehan who does a newsletter, and they made it free for one day, and he was comparing the A's owner with the San Diego Padres owner who passed away, and talked about being born. They were both born very wealthy, and he said they were both born on third base, and one of them stole home, and one of them stole money, and it was really it was a good kicker there, and it's like yeah. Some people, there's nothing you can do if you have that much money. You just have you have zero grip on reality. At that point, money doesn't matter. Like nothing matters. You've got more than you could ever use, and so you just want people to feel. I don't know. I don't know what he wants.
He has
He's
F
certainly
you
not
money.
living in
He's
any
willing
real
to say F
reality.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the you know what? That is a good way to put it. Absolutely. And by the way, just so I could save people time and effort, I'm putting up the Las Vegas logo here for people watching us on YouTube right now. The Aviators logo. Look at this. I mean, look at that. That's garbage. What is it? It's Cyclops from X-Men with like some stupid. It's just the V subtly in there with the desert. It just I don't know. It looks. I mean, Ant-Man here. I don't know. It just looks bad. I don't like it at all. So, but that's just a bad. Yeah. Detroit Degenerate with the comment there. By the way, real quick before we get to Thanksgiving things, because we're going to end this podcast with Thanksgiving. Chris Uper, take a guess on how many cities the Sacramento Kings have played in before they went to Sacramento. Take a guess.
Well, they had Kansas City, Omaha.
That's one.
Kings. Before they went to Sacramento.
This should be easy.
It's not for me. I don't remember. They've only been the Sacramento Kings in my head. They were the worst franchise forever, and then they had that nice 4-year run with Chris Webber and those guys. But then
they got hosed. They got hosed by the referees.
Oh God, yeah, that's. I don't know how you could be an NBA fan after that.
Were they the Cincinnati Royals?
That sounds good.
That's correct.
Okay. Anything else? Was there more?
Yeah. So they were the Rochester Royals, the Cincinnati Royals. Yeah, the Rochester, Kansas City, Omaha, Kansas City, and Sacramento. So they're 4. So that's Rochester, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Sacramento. That's 4.
There you go.
Kansas City, Omaha, whatever. But anyway, yeah.
Didn't they play? They played like 30 games in KC and 10 in Omaha or something.
Buzz off from He-Man. That's a and buzz off. Yeah, that's a good. So I know there's like maybe 5 people who will get a He-Man reference there, but that is a very, very, very good reference there. From if anybody's watched He-Man, that's really spot on actually. Yeah, it's actually I'll put that I'll put that in the chat for a reference point because people don't know what they don't know because He-Man was it was a little bit before some people's time in here. Maybe some people remember it. I don't know, but that's a good one. Deadly Ninja Bees.
That's it. He-Man and the 1984 Tigers were around the same time for me.
Yeah, look at this. Yep. That's a spot on there. All right. So in the podcast is Thanksgiving this week, and we are wanting to say first and foremost thank you for all the listeners. We're grateful for you to come out every show, participate with us throughout the season and throughout the year, and we want to say thank you. And we really control the zone on Thanksgiving, everyone. Larry, that's control the zone for. But I want to ask everybody a question in YouTube, and of course, if you want to chime in, if you're listening to us on the audio form, what is your favorite side dish? Now we've talked about this before, and by the way, the Lions are 8-2 going into Thanksgiving. And they're going to smoke the Packers, Uper. Sorry, this is going to happen.
Well, they probably are. I mean, the Packers are playing decently, but they have 13 guys on the injured list who are considered starters. Detroit has 1. I mean, Green Bay, they just got crushed on Sunday with injuries, even though they won the game. So, yeah, Detroit's probably going to blow them out, but that's okay. Green Bay's got the youngest roster in the league. I'm kind of happy, actually. As much as you can be happy with a 4-5 team.
Tyler, enjoy the holidays of Buford and his Packers. So Green Bay. All right. So Detroit Generate said green bean casserole. That's a good one. Stando with sweet potatoes.
Nice.
All right. Bada bing, bada boom says my mom's stuffing or green bean casserole. It's another one. I like that. I'll start with you, Chris.
Yeah, I've always been one of those people, those eaters who saves his favorite thing for last when he eats. And for me, it's always stuffing. I don't know why. I know some people hate stuffing. I love stuffing, especially if it's got like a spicy, like ground sausage in it. I love it. I will also pose a question at the end of this, so just remind me.
Okay.
But you guys continue.
Okay. I like Titan's my best answer. So just pie, man.
Just pie. You're racking up those pies. I like it. Apple, pecan, pumpkin.
Yes.
That's drop right there. All right. Uper, what about you? Okay, so you had a specific one too, right?
Well, I have two for me. One that I make. I don't make it every year because we alternate. I make a cornbread stuffing with a spicy sausage.
That's what I want. Send it my way.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's my favorite thing. I also have made a wild rice stuffing that I like, but I love the cornbread one way more. It has the celery in it, some onions. It's sweet, but then the spicy sausage takes over. Love that one. My underrated one, people haven't heard of it. It's a rutabaga carrot mash. And if you can get your hands on a rutabaga and some carrots, you boil them like crazy to the point where you can take a masher of some kind and mash those suckers up into the consistency of a mashed potato, put a whole bunch of pepper on it, and I'm telling you, rutabaga carrot mash will zoom to the top of your Thanksgiving side list. There you go. Tip of the day.
So, all right. So that does sound really good, actually. And for us, so growing up, my mom sometimes would make a ham and a turkey for Thanksgiving because my mom, to give us a little bit of origin, my mom was from Spain, but my dad's Cuban, and Cubans eat a lot of pork. It's just fact. That's just what it is. A lot of Cuban. Yeah, jamon. I mean, so there would be years where we had both ham and turkey at the same time. Those days we don't do that anymore. I mean, my brother-in-law he has a turkey now that he makes he has like a brine, and he'll smoke a turkey. And then there's one that my sister makes, and it's fantastic. This year we're doing it at my brother's closer to my house. So I'm not sure. We're all bringing something. I'm not sure what we're doing.
You don't deep fry it in the garage, do you?
No, because I know myself. Look at my fingers this week. I've had 2 or 3. Okay, I cut my finger prepping food this week, and then I literally went to go grab aluminum foil, and bad angle here, but there's a paper cut here, aluminum foil cut. I've been cutting myself all week cooking, so I'm not. You think I'm going to tell myself a deep fryer cooking? No way. But somebody. Oh, come on, Larry. Larry, come on. Come on.
Thanks for hitting the sauce.
Yeah, but I also am a fan of stuffing. I am a fan of stuffing, and I'm one of those people. There's some people that don't like their food touching. I could give a less. I will combine all my food sometimes. Like what I'll do is I'll make a sandwich. I'll take cranberries, turkey, stuffing, a layer of mashed potatoes, and then I'll put on a French bread and toast the French bread and make a sandwich out of it. Magnifique.
Oh, I can beat that even. But that sounds wonderful. Don't get me wrong. All you got to do at night when you get home from the bar on Thanksgiving, right? You take 2 pieces of turkey, and that acts as the bread with the stuffing in the middle.
Yeah,
it's like the KFC sandwich.
Yeah, the KFC sandwich.
I saw a dude on Instagram making Thanksgiving sushi, which was taking chicken skin as the thing you roll it up in, and putting mashed potatoes and sausage or stuffing and cranberry sauce in there and wrapping it up. And it looks horrifying to me, but also I'd probably eat it.
Yes, no question.
Yeah.
No, last year, my brother-in-law he did a deep fried turkey, which was really good, and he also did deep fried steak, which was also outstanding.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. In my head, when I say that, I feel like it's breaded. No, it was cooked perfectly and very delicious. But the one thing I wanted to bring up is something I just read about yesterday, and apparently this is a thing, and I've never heard of it before. But it's people putting cheese on their apple pie, like a slice of sharp cheddar on top of their apple pie.
I've seen that too. Yeah.
Apparently, a lot of people do that. I've never heard of it before, and it sounds awful, but I'm also curious.
I will say, there's one food I forgot to mention that is a Cuban thing, yuca. So it's a root, and you cook it, you fry it up with bacon and garlic. Fantastic, great side dish. And usually it was also accompanied with arroz con frijoles or black beans and rice as a staple in our Thanksgiving rotation. Never will go away, and that's something that I definitely appreciate, because it was funny. When you talk about traditional American foods, I didn't have meatloaf till my mid-20s. Macaroni and cheese, I thought always came in a box, like the Kraft. I didn't know there was a baked thing until I got older. It's dead serious.
I
Same
believe
thing
it.
with stuffing. Like we didn't have stuffing until I didn't have stuffing until my early 20s, and I wish that I had stuffing way earlier in my life, because I was like, "What? This has been missing in my life." Stuffing was it, and that sounds really good.
And with stuffing, you gotta put the work in and make the real thing. I always tell people this: the road to hell is paved with stuffing from a box.
Yeah, it's my stuff. I had a
real thing.
I had a roommate that would take one of those big bowls, like you see, like a big bowl, like a prep bowl, and take 2 boxes of stovetop stuffing, put it in there, put water in it, put it in the microwave, and that's his dinner. It was the most disgustingest thing I've ever seen. Shout out to Jason. But Jason would literally, and then he'd take one of those big wooden spoons and eat it just like that. And he's like, I'm like, you're gonna be hungry an hour later, not even, or 15 minutes later. Like stovetop, I'm not gonna lie, I like stovetop. I'm not gonna lie, I do.
It's fine.
But yeah, but you're right though. Homemade stuffing is the best. But yes, it's
you got to show people the love on. Put it this way, stovetop stuffing is fine on a random night in February, okay? But if you got to show people the love on Thanksgiving and Christmas, you got to make the real thing.
Yeah, I got to make. There's the White Castle cheeseburger stuffing out there.
Heard of that too, yeah.
I've had that before. Somebody brought it one year and it was gone. But the problem is that it was also with the jalapeno. So I just wasn't going to partake in that, because sliders alone destroy your stomach. You want now sliders with jalapeno on them? Yeah, no, I didn't.
Recipe for the Ring of Fire.
Yeah, exactly. That's too much, but yeah, those kind of the stuffing ramen and bandy beans, man, that's a flashback too. But so happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Unless again, if Tigers do something, which we'll see what happens. I mean, it would be cool to wake up on Black Friday and Tigers to have done something, but I think Scott Harris is vegan, so it'd be interesting to see his Thanksgiving. Yeah, I think he's a vegetarian. I think so.
Oh,
I mean,
I remember hearing that.
Well,
Yeah. So, but happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Too.
Who was?
Fritz Fielder was, I thought, for a while.
Oh yeah. I mean, teach your own. I mean, I could never do it. Vegan.
Twinkies are vegan.
Who is?
Twinkies. Oreos are.
Oh, wait, I thought Twinkies have cream in them, or something. So
I don't think it's real cream.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything resembling real dairy in there. Maybe Twinkies aren't. I know Oreos are, but yeah. Anyway,
did that nacho he stole from that guy have cheese on it?
Does what?
I don't know if it did or not. I thought he just took the chip.
He might have. I'm not sure.
Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Make sure you wear stretchy pants, because that's probably the best way to go about it. And we'll see you next week, same time next Tuesday. But like I said, the show is gonna be a little different going forward. So just also, I don't get too personal on things, but my wife is going to have surgery Monday, so I will be a little bit less available. So she's going to have a procedure done on her brain. So that's fun. Not really, but anyway, it is what it is.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Very good.
All the best.
So I appreciate it. And like I said, go to the Believe Network. Check out all things Believe Network. There's gonna be a minor league video dropping this week. I'm finishing it up right now. The 5 greatest minor league games of the year for the Tigers. And we'll see you next week. Have a good week, everybody. And go Lions and go Blue. Yeah, because I mean, obviously we want Michigan to win, but do we really? I just want this Michigan season to be over with, so I don't want to talk about it anymore. All right, see ya.